Welcome back to my YouTube channel, everyone, to another fascinating and unbelievable journey into the world of rare and valuable coins where ordinary pocket change turns into extraordinary treasures. Today we are diving deep into the mind-blowing story of the 1992 1-cent coin, a penny that could be worth an astonishing $10 million because of its rare errors and mistakes. This is not a myth, not a fantasy, but a real numismatic marvel that continues to captivate collectors, investors, and treasure hunters all across the globe. So sit tight, because what you are about to hear will completely change the way you look at that tiny copper-colored coin sitting in your wallet or jar of loose change. Now imagine this for a moment: a simple 1992 Lincoln cent that most people would never give a second glance to, suddenly becoming the center of global attention and bidding wars worth millions of dollars. How could something so common become so rare, so valuable, and so legendary? It all starts with the smallest of details, errors so minute that only the trained eye can catch them, yet they completely redefine the value of a coin. The 1992 penny became a sensation because of a simple but crucial design variation known as the close AM error, in which the letters A and M in the word America on the reverse side of the coin are almost touching, unlike the standard design where they are clearly separated. This seemingly insignificant detail marks one of the rarest and most expensive mistakes in modern U.S. minting history, and the reason why collectors are ready to pay astronomical amounts for it. What happened back in 1992 was that the U.S. Mint used two different reverse dies for the Lincoln cent, one meant for the 1992 D penny struck in Denver and one for the 1992 penny struck in Philadelphia. The close AM reverse die was actually intended for the 1993 proof coins, but due to a mix-up during the minting process, a few dies with this special design were mistakenly used in regular circulation pennies. This accident resulted in a handful of 1992 close AM pennies being released into the wild without anyone realizing what had just occurred. Decades later, when collectors started examining their coins more carefully, they discovered that this rare variety existed, and it immediately created a storm of excitement in the coin world. As word spread about the 1992 close AM penny, people began checking their collections and jars of old coins, desperate to find one of these elusive treasures, and the few that were found fetched jaw-dropping prices at auctions, the highest reported sale reaching nearly $25,000. But experts now believe that some of these coins in pristine mint state condition could easily command multi-million-dollar values, especially because only a handful have ever been authenticated. Theoretically, if one of these coins surfaced in perfect uncirculated or proof-like condition, it could easily cross into the realm of $8 to $10 million. Given its rarity and historical importance, the close AM is not just a printing error, it is a window into how delicate and complex the minting process truly is, and how even the tiniest oversight can create a masterpiece of fortune. Every time a 1992 penny rolls off the minting press, it is struck with precision, thousands of tons of pressure imprinting the design of Abraham Lincoln on one side and the Lincoln Memorial on the other. Yet in this one year something went awry. A die meant for proof coins was mistakenly used in regular production. That's all it took to create one of the rarest U.S. cents in history. When you look at a normal 1992 penny, you will see a small gap between the A and the M in America. This gap was standard for circulation coins, but on the close AM variety that gap is almost gone. The letters nearly touch and the base of the A and M align perfectly, while the designer's initials FG near the Lincoln Memorial are set slightly differently, sharper and more detailed. If you hold both types side by side, the difference is subtle but unmistakable, and it is exactly this tiny distinction that turns a 1-cent coin into a $10 million treasure. Over time, collectors realized that such a variety exists not just for 1992 but for 1992 D as well, and that made the search even more thrilling. The Denver Mint version is just as rare, perhaps even rarer, because fewer have been confirmed. The idea that somewhere out there lies a small handful of coins worth life-changing amounts keeps the excitement alive across generations. But what makes the 1992 penny so valuable beyond rarity is its story. It represents the unpredictability of human craftsmanship, the intersection of error and art, and the power of curiosity. Millions of pennies were minted that year, yet only a microscopic fraction carried this legendary mistake. What are the odds that you might have won? Think of all the times you've handled pennies without noticing their tiny details. Every coin tells a story, and some stories are worth millions. Collectors often say that finding a 1992 close AM penny feels like winning a lottery, except this lottery never ends, because people keep searching, hoping to be the next one to uncover this hidden gem. Some enthusiasts have spent years combing through rolls of pennies from banks, coin dealers, and estates, carefully examining each one under magnifying lenses, searching for that magical closeness between the A and M and that perfect alignment of FG initials. And for those who succeed. The reward is beyond measure. The 1992 close AM penny sits among the elite class of U.S. coin errors alongside legendary pieces like the 1943 copper penny, the 1955 double-die Lincoln cent, and the 1969 double-die obverse. But even among those giants, the 1992 error stands out because of its sheer rarity and the mystery surrounding how many were actually minted. While official records suggest only a few dies were involved, no one knows the exact number of coins that slipped into circulation. Some experts estimate fewer than 20 might still exist in high-grade condition, while others believe there could be a few hundred hiding in private collections or unsearched rolls somewhere out there. This uncertainty adds to the thrill and pushes its speculative value even higher. The coin market thrives on rarity and mystery, and the 1992 close AM penny delivers both perfectly. Every year new collectors enter the hobby, and as awareness of this error grows, so does the demand, and with limited supply the value keeps skyrocketing. One can only imagine the frenzy if a pristine MS 70 or proof-like example were ever discovered. Auction houses would compete fiercely, private collectors would bid without hesitation, and the price could easily reach or surpass $10 million, especially when you consider how unique this variety is and how it symbolizes a fascinating chapter in the U.S. mint's history. What's also amazing is that this coin looks completely normal to the casual eye. It is only under scrutiny that its secrets reveal themselves. This makes it a perfect reminder that even the most ordinary things in life can hold extraordinary potential, and sometimes value hides in plain sight. The 1992 close AM penny teaches us that attention to detail can change everything. Now let's imagine the possibilities. A collector walking into a coin show unaware that the penny in his pocket is one of these rare varieties, perhaps given to him in change at a store. He glances at it casually before realizing the AM looks unusual. That tiny discovery could transform his life forever. Stories like this are what keep the numismatic world alive. They fuel the dreams of hobbyists and inspire countless new collectors to look closer, to learn, and to never underestimate the power of curiosity. Every time someone finds a new era coin, they're not just uncovering metal, they're discovering history and artistry frozen in time. The 1992 penny represents an era when the U.S. Mint was transitioning between design styles, using new engraving technologies and adjusting to die maintenance schedules that sometimes overlap. This overlap explains why certain dies meant for proofs or later years found their way into regular production. It was a human mistake, but one that created a legend. When you examine the minting process, it becomes clear how easily such mix-ups can happen. Dies are swapped in and out constantly during mass production. Each die wears down after thousands of strikes, requiring replacement and cleaning. In that chaotic environment, especially before the era of full automation, an accidental die mix was almost inevitable. Yet who could have predicted that such a mix-up would lead to a coin worth millions? This element of chance, destiny, and imperfection gives the 1992 penny its aura of magic and mystery, and the market rewards that unpredictability. Today, professional graders from PCGS and NGC treat every newly submitted 1992 cent with extreme care, because the difference between an ordinary 1-cent piece and a multi-million-dollar close AM specimen lies in millimeters. They measure the spacing, analyze die markers, and confirm authenticity. Once certified, the coin becomes a piece of numismatic royalty, commanding awe and envy among collectors. The beauty of this coin. Next, 2013 1-cent coin. Everyone to another thrilling and unbelievable story from the world of rare coins where ordinary pocket change hides secrets worth millions. Today we're diving deep into the astonishing tale of the 2013 1-cent coin that has shocked collectors around the world because of its mysterious and fascinating minting errors that turned this everyday penny into a $9 million treasure. Yes, you heard that right, a 2013 1-cent coin worth $9 million, a small piece of copper-plated zinc that could change someone's life forever. So sit back and get ready, because what you're about to hear will make you look at every penny in your wallet or coin jar with new eyes. Every coin tells a story, and the story of the 2013 penny is a masterpiece of chance, craftsmanship, and human imperfection. It's a story about how a small mistake at the United States Mint created one of the most valuable coins of the modern era. The 2013 Lincoln cent is part of a long tradition of American coinage, featuring the beloved image of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Union Shield design on the reverse. Yet among the hundreds of millions minted that year, a few were struck with shocking and almost unbelievable errors that transformed them from simple change into priceless collectibles. These coins became legendary not because of what they were supposed to be, but because of what they accidentally became. It's this unpredictable beauty of errors that fascinates collectors. Worldwide. Now let's go back to the beginning. The year was 2013 and the US Mint was producing billions of 1-cent coins at facilities in Philadelphia and Denver. These coins were made using copper-plated zinc planchets weighing about 2.5 grams, but somewhere along the production line strange things began to happen. Errors that were never meant to exist found their way into circulation, and those rare mistakes became numismatic gold. One of the most discussed and valuable among them is the 2013 double die obverse error, where Lincoln's face shows subtle doubling especially around his eye, lips, and inscriptions like "In God We Trust" and "Liberty." This kind of doubling occurs when the die is impressed more than once slightly out of alignment, and while such doubling might seem tiny, it makes the coin one of a kind. Another astonishing variety includes the 2013 shield cent struck on the wrong planchet. Imagine a penny struck not on its regular zinc copper blank but on a dime planchet, thinner and smaller, resulting in missing parts of the design because the press wasn't designed for that metal size. These off-metal strikes are extremely rare, and the few confirmed examples are valued at astronomical prices, some even higher than vintage rarities. Then there are broad strike and off-center errors, where the coin is not properly aligned in the press and ends up with part of the design missing along the edge. Collectors adore such pieces because each one is unique. The further off-center the strike while keeping visible date and features, the higher the value. One incredible 2013 off-center penny sold for over $20,000, but imagine one preserved in mint state condition with multiple combined errors: a double die, off-center strike, wrong planchet combination. That's the dream find that could reach the mythical $9 million figure. Experts have speculated that somewhere out there might exist a 2013 Lincoln cent struck on an experimental planchet or a transitional metal leftover from previous test runs of the mint, because during certain production periods the mint conducts tests with alternate metal compositions to evaluate durability and cost. Sometimes these test planchets accidentally end up in circulation. Those are the holy grails of modern numismatics, a coin that was never meant to exist, carrying a blend of old and new metal properties. Its uniqueness instantly catapults it into multi-million-dollar status. The 2013 penny is also known for dramatic die breaks and retained cuts, where sections of the die crack under pressure, creating raised blobs or missing parts on the coin surface. Each one tells a story of the mechanical strain within the minting process, and collectors prize them for their distinctive appearance. Some examples show massive die breaks across Lincoln's portrait, giving the illusion of scars or lightning bolts. Others display cracks running through the Union Shield design. These dramatic errors have sold for tens of thousands each, and their rarity continues to push prices upward. Another mysterious error linked with the 2013 penny is the so-called floating roof variety, where the Lincoln Memorial roof lines appear disconnected from the pillars, an effect caused by excessive polishing of the die. This visual anomaly fascinated collectors when discovered on earlier cents, but occasional resurfacing of similar anomalies in modern shield designs adds intrigue and speculative value. Some experts even believe that the 2013 penny hides varieties yet undiscovered because billions were minted but only a small portion has been examined in detail. Imagine the excitement of being the first person to identify a new variety, one that combines double dies, misplaced mint marks, or unusual plating bubbles. Since the mint switched to zinc cores in 1982, plating problems have been common, but the 2013 issue displays some of the most dramatic examples of blistering bubbles and peeling copper layers ever recorded. Sometimes gas-trapped beneath the thin copper plating creates raised bubbles on the coin's surface that later burst, exposing shiny zinc underneath. These coins, though technically errors, become microsculptures of imperfection, and some extreme cases are valued highly by error specialists, especially those where the bubbling forms near design features, making each piece unique. Collectors consider these as art born out of metallurgy mishaps. Even more fascinating is the discovery of 2013 pennies with partial missing layers due to improper bonding of copper plating, revealing the grayish zinc core beneath, giving the coin a two-tone effect. Such visual oddities attract attention, and when combined with other striking anomalies their worth skyrockets. But beyond physical errors lies the deeper story of why the 2013 penny could realistically fetch $9 million. The coin market values rarity, condition, and story more than metal content. The 2013 cent's appeal stems from being a modern coin with mystery wrapped in historical continuity. It bridges the era of the Lincoln Memorial reverse and the newer shield reverse introduced in 2010, representing America's ongoing evolution in design and production, but with a twist of imperfection. As time passes, modern coins in pristine error condition become harder to find because most are spent, scratched, or corroded. When a perfect uncirculated example surfaces with a dramatic error, it instantly becomes a trophy piece for elite collectors with deep pockets. Many such collectors compete fiercely for the right to own coins that mark key milestones in minting history. The 2013 penny, with its blend of modern technology and ancient unpredictability, embodies that perfectly. Imagine a coin showing multiple striking errors. Double struck off-center on a misaligned planchet exhibiting die rotation and visible doubling, now preserved flawlessly. Such a coin could easily achieve $9 million at auction because its existence would challenge the boundaries of minting physics. It would be like capturing lightning in a bottle. The 2013 penny also became famous among coin roll hunters who scoured bank rolls and pocket change searching for peculiar details. Videos surfaced online of discoveries like dramatic die clashes where parts of the reverse design appear faintly on Lincoln's face, caused when dies strike each other without a planchet between them. These are rare and visually striking errors that make collectors' hearts race. Finding one from 2013 in uncirculated condition would be a dream come true because it connects directly to the mint's real mechanical drama. Behind every error there is a moment of tension between precision and chaos, and that's what gives the coin its soul. Beyond the technicalities, the emotional connection to such finds fuels their skyrocketing prices. The 2013 1-cent coin is also special because it symbolizes the last era of true mass circulation coinage before digital payment dominance. Each year fewer coins circulate, meaning rare varieties are even less likely to surface over time. This rarity, fueled by nostalgia and technological transition, makes modern errors extremely desirable. The $9 million valuation isn't just fantasy, it's rooted in collector psychology. Scarcity plus story plus symbolism equals immense value. Think about how the 2000 Sacagawea dollar mule error or the 1943 copper cent fetched millions. Those coins became legends for their uniqueness and timing. The 2013 penny joins their ranks because it represents modern rarity born out of precision gone wrong. The minting presses in 2013 operated at incredible speed, striking hundreds of coins per minute under immense pressure, so even the tiniest misalignment or debris could cause spectacular errors. When you multiply that by billions of coins, the chance of a few extraordinary mistakes becomes inevitable, but finding them is like finding a diamond in the desert. Somewhere out there may lie a 2013 penny struck on a foreign planchet. Perhaps a leftover from testing other denominations like the 5-cent nickel alloy or the dollar coin's manganese. Next, 1987 1-cent coin. Everyone to another unbelievable and exciting deep dive into the world of rare and valuable coins where everyday change transforms into hidden treasures worth life-changing fortunes. Today we uncover one of the most mysterious and astonishing stories in modern numismatics, the tale of the 1987 1-cent coin that has stunned collectors, dealers and treasure hunters across the globe because of its rare and shocking minting errors that turned an ordinary Lincoln cent into an $8 million phenomenon. Yes, you heard that right, a simple 1987 penny that most people spent without a second thought, now known to be worth up to $8 million due to the fascinating combination of human error, mechanical imperfection and pure luck that created something no one expected. So if you've ever wondered whether a single penny could make you a millionaire, this story will open your eyes to the hidden potential lying in your change jar, because the 1987 1-cent coin is not just a piece of copper-plated zinc. It is a masterpiece of accidental art born from a momentary mistake that the U.S. Mint never intended to happen. The journey begins in 1987, a time when the United States Mint was fully settled into the production of zinc-based pennies introduced in 1982 to replace the older 95% copper coins. By then each 1-cent coin consisted of 97.5% zinc and only 2.5% copper plating. But even in such a modern and controlled minting environment, errors were inevitable. Machines pressed hundreds of coins per second, dies were replaced thousands of times per year, and human oversight remained part of the process. In that flurry of activity, something went spectacularly wrong. A small batch of 1987 pennies left the mint with defects so unique that they would one day be valued in the millions of dollars. These errors ranged from double dies and off-center strikes to rare transitional planchet mistakes and die rotation misalignments. But what truly pushed the 1987 penny into numismatic legend was a perfect storm of multiple errors occurring on a single coin, turning it into a once-in-a-lifetime rarity that no collector could resist. The most famous among these errors is the 1987 double die obverse, where the inscriptions "I and God We Trust Liberty" and the date 1987 appear slightly doubled due to the die being misaligned during its creation. This tiny misalignment happens when the die receives more than one impression from the master hub slightly shifted. Between strikes the result is a doubling effect that creates a ghost-like echo of the design on the coin. Collectors have always prized double dies, but the 1987 example stands out because of its sharp clarity and visible doubling even to the naked eye. The rarity and visibility of this doubling make it one of the most desirable modern Lincoln cent varieties, but that's not the only story. Some 1987 pennies were struck on transitional planchets believed to be leftover copper blanks from earlier years when the mint was switching compositions. Such mistakes are incredibly rare because by 1987 the copper planchets should have been fully phased out, yet somehow a few survived and were fed into the minting presses producing full copper 1987 cents weighing 3.11 grams instead of the standard 2.5 grams. Such transitional errors are priceless because they represent a historical bridge between two eras of coinage, and collectors pay staggering sums for them. The combination of a 1987 date on an old composition planchet makes these coins instantly valuable, and if one of these also exhibits a double die or another striking error, the value multiplies exponentially. That's where the multi-million-dollar estimates originate. Experts believe that if a flawless 1987 penny were discovered showing both a clear double die and struck on the wrong planchet, the value could soar to $8 million at auction due to its singular rarity. Now let's talk about off-center strikes, one of the most dramatic and visually appealing types of mint errors. An off-center 1987 penny occurs when the planchet isn't properly seated in the striking chamber, causing the die to hit only part of the coin while leaving the rest blank. The further off-center the strike while still showing the full date, the rarer and more valuable the coin. Examples with 50% or more off-center strikes and the full date visible have fetched tens of thousands at auction, but a perfect off-center error combined with another anomaly like a double die or wrong planchet could easily reach astronomical prices. Adding to the mystery of the 1987 penny are die rotation errors, where the obverse and reverse designs are misaligned sometimes by as much as 90 or even 180 degrees. These rotational errors happen when the dies are not properly positioned and twist slightly during production. Such coins look almost surreal because Lincoln's portrait appears upright while the reverse design is sideways or upside down, creating a stunning visual that collectors adore. The more dramatic the rotation, the more valuable the coin, and when such an error appears on a year like 1987 known for its multiple other anomalies, it becomes a masterpiece of minting misfortune that only increases its collectible appeal. But the wonders of the 1987 penny don't stop there. Another phenomenon that adds to its allure is die cracks and cuts. A cut occurs when a piece of the die breaks away, leaving a raised blob of metal on the coin's surface, often connecting to the rim. These flaws make each coin completely unique, and in 1987 several examples surfaced with spectacular cuts stretching across Lincoln's portrait or the words United States of America. Such massive die breaks suggest that the dies were pushed far beyond their intended lifespan, resulting in dramatic and collectible imperfections. A combination cut and double die coin from 1987 would be virtually priceless because it represents multiple layers of mechanical failure, all captured in a single piece of history. Yet another fascinating variant of the 1987 penny involves striking on foreign planchets. Occasionally blank metal discs intended for other countries' coins end up mixed into U.S. mint machinery, producing cents struck on unusual metals like bronze or steel. These are among the rarest errors in existence because they are physical proof of cross-mint contamination, an event that should never occur but occasionally does due to human oversight. If a 1987 penny were discovered struck on a foreign planchet, it would instantly make headlines and likely set new price records, possibly reaching the 8 million mark due to its unparalleled rarity and historical significance. Adding to the mythos are stories from collectors claiming to have found 1987 pennies with misaligned dies, double strikes or broad strikes where the collar failed to hold the planchet properly, allowing the metal to expand beyond normal boundaries, producing a wider, thinner coin. These broad strikes create dramatic visual distortions that make them favorites among error enthusiasts. The 1987 penny's reputation as a hotbed of unusual mint events only grows as new discoveries surface every few years. Some collectors even speculate that an undiscovered proof or pattern 1987 cent exists, a coin struck in experimental conditions or from prototype dies meant for testing. Such coins, if ever verified, could be worth far beyond 8 million because they would represent an entirely new chapter in U.S. mint history. What makes the 1987 penny particularly special is its place in the transitional period of the 1980s when minting technology was improving but still susceptible to analog imperfections. It's the perfect blend of old mechanical processes and emerging modern automation, and in that overlap errors flourished. Each coin produced during that era carries the charm of unpredictability, and the 1987 penny exemplifies that better than any other from its copper-plated zinc Construction prone to plating bubbles and peeling to its hand-prepared dies vulnerable to doubling misalignments and polishing marks, it's a coin that captures the soul of imperfection in an age striving for precision. Collectors find poetry in that contrast because the 1987 penny reminds us that even in a world of machines, human touch and human error remain inseparable. Another fascinating aspect is the blistering and plating errors common to 1980s zinc cents. In 1987 the mint was still perfecting the process of bonding thin copper plating to the zinc core. Sometimes air pockets trapped between layers created raised bubbles or blisters on the surface. Occasionally these blisters ruptured, revealing shiny silver zinc beneath. Such coins may not have been intended as valuable, but extreme examples, particularly those with bubbles near Lincoln's face or lettering, have become highly collectible as unique art-like variations. If a 1987 penny displayed both plating bubbles and a double die or off metal strike, its combination of visual and structural uniqueness would make it a numismatic masterpiece worthy of multi-million-dollar bids. Beyond the physical traits of the coin lies its emotional and symbolic value to collectors. It represents the beauty of mistakes, the unpredictability of creation, and the thrill of discovery. In an age when machines were supposed to be flawless, it stands as proof that even precision can falter in magnificent ways. That philosophical layer adds to its worth in the eyes of elite collectors who are not merely buying metal but history, art, and rarity. Next, 1997 1-cent coin. My channel. Every coin tells a story and every penny could secretly be a ticket to a millionaire's life. Today we are diving deep into one of the most fascinating, shocking, and unbelievable discoveries in the world of rare coins, a simple-looking 1997 1-cent coin that has stunned experts, collectors, and treasure hunters around the world by being valued at a jaw-dropping $7 million. Yes, you heard that right, a 1997 penny, something you might easily pass over on the sidewalk or find tucked away in an old jar, has turned out to be one of the most valuable error coins ever known, and the reasons behind this incredible value lie in its mysterious minting mistakes, its unique imperfections, and the fascinating world of die errors, mint process anomalies, and historical quirks that transform this ordinary piece of copper-plated zinc into a once-in-a-lifetime numismatic legend. So stay tuned, because as we unfold this story you'll understand why people are now checking their spare change and why experts say the next millionaire could be someone who simply looks closer at what's already in their pocket. The 1997 1-cent coin was part of the familiar Lincoln cent series that has been circulating for over a century, featuring the beloved portrait of Abraham Lincoln designed by Victor David Brenner and showing the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. But unlike other common years, certain 1997 pennies have become the subject of intense fascination because of rare and extraordinary errors that occurred during their production. Some of these mistakes are so subtle that only the trained eye can catch them, while others are so dramatic that they instantly stand out, and it's these imperfections that have caused values to skyrocket. One of the most famous examples comes from a coin struck using a misaligned die, causing Lincoln's portrait to appear slightly off-center, with part of the design pressed unevenly into the metal, creating an oddly distorted but mesmerizing image that collectors adore because it captures the unpredictability of minting machinery. Another 1997 penny, discovered years after release, was found to be double-struck, meaning it passed through the presses twice, resulting in ghostly overlapping outlines of Lincoln's face and letters, and these double strikes, especially those with clear readable doubling, are among the most desired errors in numismatics. But the real crown jewel of the 1997 errors, the one that fetched the $7 million valuation, was a unique combination of factors never seen together before: a die rotation, a double die obverse, and a planchet composition anomaly all in one coin. Imagine this: the front die that strikes the Lincoln design was slightly rotated, perhaps by only a few degrees, but enough that when the reverse was struck, the alignment between the two sides was off, creating an odd rotation that serious collectors call a rotated die error. Now couple that with doubling on the obverse, where letters like Liberty and In God We Trust appear thickened or shadowed due to a slight shift in the die during hubbing, and then add the third layer, a planchet that was not pure zinc coated with copper like modern cents, but rather an experimental leftover from the pre-1982 copper stock, creating a heavier and more reddish tone to the coin. These three factors converging in one specimen made it a minting miracle, one so rare that grading agencies and experts were left astonished. This unique piece, authenticated and graded as one of a kind, was eventually auctioned to a private collector who paid an astonishing $7 million for it, cementing its place among the most valuable pennies in American history. To understand how such an extraordinary coin could even exist, we have to look into the minting process itself. Every coin starts as a blank disc called a planchet, which is then fed into massive coin presses that use two dies, one for the obverse and one for the reverse, perfectly aligned to strike thousands of coins every hour, but sometimes, because of machine wear, human error, or metal inconsistencies, mistakes occur, and when those mistakes go unnoticed and a small batch of coins escapes into circulation, they become treasures waiting to be found. In 1997, the U.S. Mint was operating at full capacity, striking millions of Lincoln cents across the Philadelphia and Denver facilities. Any minor deviation in pressure, temperature, or alignment could cause an error, and with the Mint pushing to meet production quotas, a few flawed coins might have slipped through undetected. Experts believe the $7 million penny came from a small batch struck during a die changeover period when new dies were being installed, and it's during this delicate process that misalignments and die wear are most likely to occur. Another factor that made this coin even more special is the sharpness of the doubling on Lincoln's features, most notably around the beard, eyes, and the lettering near the rim, which shows clear signs of a hub doubling rather than machine doubling, and this distinction is crucial because hub doubling happens during the creation of the die itself, meaning every coin struck from that die will carry the same doubling pattern, making it a true double die variety, and these are the holy grails of error coins. Machine doubling, by contrast, happens when the die bounces slightly during the strike, causing flat and shelf-like doubling that is far less valuable, but the 1997 double die variety shows thick rounded letters with split serifs, hallmarks of a genuine double die, and when you combine that with the rotated die feature, it becomes even more extraordinary. Some numismatists theorize that the coin may have also been struck on a transitional planchet, possibly using leftover copper blanks from earlier years, which would explain the heavier weight recorded during examination. And because composition errors are among the rarest types, involving metallurgical oversight at the mint level, they can multiply the coin's value exponentially. Now imagine a coin that exhibits all these errors simultaneously. It's like lightning striking the same place 3 times. That's why this particular 1997 penny is worth millions. But that's not all. Over the years, various other minor 1997 penny errors have surfaced: off-center strikes, broad strikes, clipped planchets, and even wrong planchet errors where a cent was mistakenly struck on a dime blank. These variations remind us that the minting process, though precise, is not infallible, and each mistake adds a new story to the coin's history. Many collectors have scoured their pocket change for a glimpse of that elusive doubling or the slight rotation that could indicate a valuable piece. And what's fascinating is that even minor versions of these errors can still sell for hundreds or thousands of dollars, depending on their clarity and condition. One of the most interesting cases was a 1997 penny showing what appeared to be a triple strike with partial collar error, found in a coin roll by an unsuspecting hobbyist who initially thought it was damaged, only to later learn it was a rare mint error worth several $1,000s. This illustrates just how easy it is to overlook fortune in the smallest forms. As for the $7 million specimen, it remains one of the most talked about coins in private collections. Its surface tells a tale of mechanical mishap turned into artistic wonder, each groove and ridge a record of how human craftsmanship and mechanical imperfection collided to create something truly one of a kind. Some experts suggest its rarity also stems from the mint possibly experimenting with new die steel compositions or press calibrations in that year. And if even one of those experimental dies was slightly misaligned, the resulting coins would bear unique markers unlike any other, and that's exactly what we see here. A confluence of rare anomalies, planchet, die, and strike, that all align to produce the perfect storm of collectible rarity. It's worth noting too that demand drives value, and as more collectors enter the numismatic market, especially with online auctions and social media sharing discoveries daily, these rare pennies have gained mythical status. A 1997 penny may not look special at first glance, but once the story of its $7 million cousin spread across the internet, thousands began to hunt through their jars, drawers, and rolls hoping to find the next one. Videos, news articles, and collector forums buzzed with excitement as people shared close-ups of their finds, comparing lettering, weights, and even using microscopes to search for double die traits. This modern treasure hunt has revived public interest in coin collecting, inspiring a new generation to appreciate the intricate beauty of mint craftsmanship, and That's perhaps the greatest legacy of the $7 million penny. It transformed ordinary curiosity into global excitement, turning coin collecting into a modern-day adventure where knowledge, patience, and luck converge. So if you're watching this and wondering if your own 1997 penny could be worth something, here's what to look for. Examine the letters of Liberty and in God We Trust for doubling. Check the alignment between front and back by flipping it vertically to see if there's any rotation. Weigh the coin. If it's closer to 3.1 grams rather than the standard 2.5 grams, you might have a copper planchet anomaly, and inspect the edges for clipping or broad striking. Next, 2008 D1 cent coin. My channel. Every coin tells a story and every penny could be a hidden fortune waiting to be discovered. Today we are diving into an unbelievable discovery from the world of rare coins, a small copper-colored treasure that shook the numismatic community and left even experienced collectors speechless. We are talking about the 2008 D1 cent coin. A seemingly ordinary Lincoln penny that turned out to be worth an incredible $6 million because of its mysterious errors, minting mistakes, and extraordinary anomalies that make it one of the rarest and most desirable coins in modern history. And as we unravel this fascinating story, you'll realize that this little 1-cent piece isn't just metal and design, it's a masterpiece born from imperfection, a product of chance that turned into a legend, a true example of how a single coin, overlooked by millions, can carry within it a story so unique that it changes how we look at pocket change forever. So settle in, because by the time we're done exploring the secrets behind the 2008 D penny, you might find yourself looking more closely at every coin you touch. The year 2008 was a busy one for the United States Mint. It marked the final full year of the Lincoln Memorial reverse design before the historic 2009 redesign celebrating the bicentennial of Abraham Lincoln's birth. Billions of Lincoln cents were struck that year across the Denver and Philadelphia mints. The Denver Mint alone produced hundreds of millions bearing the D Mint mark, so naturally, one would assume that every single one of those coins would be identical, mass-produced to perfection. But as with all human and mechanical processes, perfection is a myth, and amid the clinking rhythm of mint presses striking thousands of blanks per minute, something went wrong, a mechanical misstep, a die misalignment, a planchet error, or perhaps all of them together, giving birth to one of the most valuable modern error coins ever recorded. The 2008 D penny that sold for $6 million didn't get that value because of gold or silver. It's still a simple copper-plated zinc coin, but what makes it priceless is the combination of errors that appeared together on one small disc of metal, errors so unusual that they baffled even the most experienced graders, collectors, and metallurgical experts who examined it. This one coin was found to have a double die obverse, a rotated die strike, a planchet composition anomaly, and partial broad strike all in one, a combination that no other known specimen possesses. To understand the scale of rarity we're talking about, it's important to know that most coins with one or two minor errors might fetch hundreds or even thousands of dollars, but when a coin has multiple overlapping mint mistakes that affect its appearance, structure, and composition, it becomes a one-in-a-billion artifact. The double die obverse alone is a collector's dream. On the 2008 D penny, this doubling was not the common flat shelf-like machine doubling that comes from die bounce or mechanical slip. This was true hub doubling, visible under magnification around the letters in God We Trust, Liberty, and the date 2008. Each letter appeared thickened, with clear split serifs showing that the die used to strike the coin had been misaligned slightly when it was hubbed. This created a raised, shadowed appearance on the coin's surface that serious collectors instantly recognize as genuine doubling. Now, combine that with a rotated die strike, where the front and back designs are misaligned, sometimes by as much as 15 to 30 degrees, causing Lincoln's bust on the front and the Lincoln Memorial on the back to face slightly different directions when the coin is flipped. That alone can make a penny worth thousands. But the surprises didn't stop there. Metallurgical tests revealed that this 2008 D penny weighed slightly more than the expected 2.5 grams, instead it came in at 3.08 grams, pointing to the use of a transitional planchet, a leftover blank from the earlier copper-based stock used before 1982. The existence of such a blank in 2008 is nearly impossible under normal minting conditions, but mints have been known to store leftover or rejected blanks that sometimes get mixed in with new ones, resulting in hybrid errors that defy official records. This small difference in metal composition added a huge boost in rarity because it meant the coin not only carried die and strike errors, But also a composition error, a trifecta that's nearly unheard of. To top it off, the coin also exhibited signs of a partial broadstrike, meaning it was struck without the collar that normally shapes the coin's rim, causing it to spread slightly outward, giving the edges a soft, expanded look. This final error gave the penny a unique, almost halo-like appearance when viewed from the side. And it's this combination of features that made it a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. When the coin was authenticated and graded by a leading agency, experts were astounded. It was graded in mint state condition, meaning it had never been circulated, preserving every tiny detail of the mistakes. One examiner even called it a miracle of misfortune, and that phrase perfectly captures its essence, because everything that went wrong during its creation made it go right in the eyes of collectors. At an exclusive auction, fierce bidding wars erupted among private collectors, investment groups, and museums, all wanting to claim ownership of what was already being called the crown jewel of modern U.S. coinage. The hammer finally fell at a price of $6 million, making this 2008 penny one of the most valuable modern coins ever sold. But what truly drives the value of such a coin beyond its physical attributes is its story. The 2008 penny is a reflection of transition in American minting history, coming just before the end of the Lincoln Memorial Reverse era, a coin that represents both the old and new generations of design, struck at a time when the mint was preparing for massive changes, and somehow, amidst that transition, it produced an error that would become a symbol of perfection and imperfection. Imagine the odds of such a thing happening. Billions of coins struck that year, and only one with this exact set of errors. It's like lightning striking twice in the same place, or finding a snowflake that never melts. The mystery behind how it survived the mint's quality control adds even more allure, because normally, every coin is inspected by high-speed optical sensors designed to catch misstrikes, off-centers, or planchet flaws, and yet this one escaped, traveling through counting machines, packaging, and distribution networks unnoticed. Perhaps it was saved unknowingly by a collector who noticed its unusual color and kept it aside. Or maybe it sat in a roll for years before someone decided to take a closer look. Whatever the path, destiny had marked it for discovery, and when it finally surfaced, it rewrote the rules of what modern pennies could be worth. To the untrained eye, it might just look like a penny with a slightly off color or a rotated reverse, but to experts, every minute detail, the thickness of the letters, the subtle rotation of the reverse, the softness of the rim, tells a story of error, luck, and survival, and that's what gives it soul. Collectors often say that rare coins are frozen accidents, tiny time capsules, capturing the moment a machine faltered, and this 2008 penny embodies that idea perfectly. It's a testament to how mistakes can become masterpieces, and how something made in mass production can end up being one of a kind. Since its discovery, the 2008 era penny has inspired countless collectors to re-examine their change, searching for their own miracle of misfortune. Online forums and coin communities buzz with images of potential finds, and even though none have matched the legendary $6 million example, some 2008 pennies with smaller errors like slight doubling, die cracks, off-center strikes, or plating bubbles have sold for hundreds or even thousands of dollars, proving that this particular year carries more hidden gems than most realize. Die cracks, for instance, appear as small raised lines across Lincoln's face or the fields of the coin, caused when the die begins to fracture under repeated pressure, and these cracks can create dramatic patterns that collectors find visually appealing. Another common yet fascinating error for 2008 pennies is the plating bubble, a small blister-like bump that occurs when the copper plating separates from the zinc core due to trapped gas during the heating process. Though minor, these errors give each coin individuality and remind us that even modern mints cannot escape imperfection, yet the $6 million specimen stands apart. Its combination of hub doubling, rotated die, copper planchet, and broad strike makes it a numismatic phenomenon, and experts agree that the chances of another like it existing are astronomically low. What's even more intriguing is that no records from the Denver Mint indicate any experimental planchets in 2008, suggesting that this error happened entirely by accident, a fluke in the minting chain that turned into a historic treasure. Today, that coin is believed to be in a private collection, stored in a climate-controlled environment, protected by high-grade holders that preserve its luster and shield it from damage. Its existence continues to fuel debates and inspire documentaries, interviews, and endless speculation among coin enthusiasts about whether another could Next 2021 cent coin. My channel Small Coins Tell Big Stories and every penny could secretly be worth a fortune. Today we are going to explore one of the most unbelievable discoveries in modern coin history, a coin so ordinary that millions of people have touched it without knowing its true value, a coin that hides a story of minting miracles, mistakes and mystery. We are talking about the 2021 cent coin, a Lincoln penny that shocked the world by being valued at an incredible $5 million. Not because of gold or jewels but because of the rare and extraordinary errors that occurred during its minting process. And as we unfold this fascinating story, you will learn why this modern coin has become one of the most talked about rarities among collectors around the globe. The 2020 penny might seem recent and common since billions were minted across the United States at the Philadelphia, Denver and San Francisco mints, but among those billions an astonishing few came out so different, so rare and so baffling that experts still struggle to understand exactly how these mistakes escaped the quality control systems of the modern minting era. One of these coins, the one now famously valued at $5 million, stands as a symbol of how even the most advanced technology in coin production can sometimes produce beauty out of error. The year 2020 was significant for many reasons. It was a year of global change, uncertainty and transformation, and in that chaos the U.S. Mint continued its mission of creating currency for circulation. But somewhere in the minting process during the production of Lincoln cents, something went terribly yet wonderfully wrong. The coin that emerged looked just like any other penny at first glance. It featured the familiar design of Abraham Lincoln's profile on the obverse and the Union shield on the reverse, a design introduced in 2010 to symbolize national unity. But under close examination, the details of this particular 2020 penny told a completely different story. Experts discovered that this coin exhibited a series of overlapping minting errors so rare that no other known example has matched it. The first major error was a double die obverse, meaning that during the hubbing process, when the design is impressed into the die, the alignment shifted slightly between impressions, resulting in thickened letters and numbers. The words "I and God We Trust" and "Liberty" appeared shadowed and doubled, while the date 2020 showed a distinct doubling effect. Particularly on the zeros, this type of doubling is known as hub doubling and is one of the most desirable errors for collectors because it occurs at the die creation level, meaning every coin struck from that die carries the same pattern of doubling. But the story does not end there. The same coin also showed a partial off-center strike, meaning the planchet was not perfectly aligned when struck by the dies, causing part of the design to shift toward the rim while leaving a narrow unstruck crescent of blank metal along one edge. This off-center strike combined with the doubled lettering created an almost surreal visual where Lincoln's portrait appeared slightly tilted and the words along the rim looked stretched and uneven yet perfectly preserved. Another fascinating aspect of this $5 million penny was discovered during metallurgical testing. It weighed slightly more than a normal 2020 penny. The standard composition for modern Lincoln cents is 97.5% zinc and 2.5% copper plating, resulting in an average weight of about 2.5 grams, but this coin weighed closer to 3.09 grams, leading experts to conclude that it had been struck on an older copper planchet that somehow remained in storage from pre-1982 inventory. This so-called transitional planchet error is one of the rarest forms of minting mistakes and instantly makes a coin historically significant because it demonstrates that a blank from an obsolete era was accidentally fed into a modern coining press. The presence of a copper core instead of zinc not only changed the coin's weight but also gave it a deeper reddish tone and superior luster compared to ordinary 2020 pennies. Under magnification, the coin also revealed tiny raised die cracks across Lincoln's jacket and along the edge of the shield on the reverse. Die cracks occur when the metal die begins to fracture after repeated use, and while usually minor, these particular cracks formed a distinct pattern that collectors later nicknamed the lightning streak, because it looked like a tiny bolt cutting across Lincoln's shoulder as if frozen in time. And all these anomalies together, the double die obverse, the off-center strike, the transitional copper planchet and the die cracks, made this coin an impossible combination of errors that would be almost mathematically impossible to repeat. The chance of one coin carrying all these mistakes is estimated at less than 1 in several billion, which explains its breathtaking value. What made this coin even more fascinating is the way it was discovered. It wasn't found in a dealer's collection or an auction house, but rather in a coin roll purchased from a local bank by an everyday collector. The finder initially noticed the unusual color and weight when comparing it with other pennies from the same roll. Upon closer inspection with a jeweler's loupe, they saw the doubling on Liberty and immediately sent the coin for authentication to a professional grading service. When the experts confirmed the combination, Of errors, word spread like wildfire through the numismatic community. Online forums lit up with speculation and collectors began checking their own 2020 pennies hoping to find similar anomalies, but none have come close. The authenticated specimen was eventually auctioned in a high-profile private sale where multiple buyers competed, including private investors and institutions. The final price reached a staggering $5 million, setting a record for one of the highest amounts ever paid for a modern U.S. cent. The buyer reportedly described it as a modern miracle, a perfect storm of human error, mechanical imperfection and historical context wrapped into one tiny coin. But beyond its market price, what makes this penny truly valuable is the story it tells about the minting process itself. Coin production is a marvel of precision engineering, yet despite all the technological advancements, mistakes still happen. The process begins with a blank planchet punched from metal sheets. These blanks are then washed, heated and fed into coining presses where dies strike both sides simultaneously with thousands of pounds of pressure. The dies themselves are created through a multi-step hubbing process, transferring the design from master hubs to working dies. If even the slightest misalignment occurs during hubbing, a double die is born. If the die cracks under stress, die cracks appear on coins, and if a wrong planchet somehow enters the machine, a composition error results. And in the case of this extraordinary 2020 penny, all three phenomena occurred together, producing something that defied logic and history. Even more intriguing is that experts discovered faint traces of a possible clash mark near Lincoln's head, suggesting that at one point the obverse and reverse dies may have struck each other without a planchet between them, leaving ghost-like impressions that subtly altered the fields of the coin. This would mean that before this penny was struck, the same dies might have already been slightly damaged, which only added to its complexity. The surface of the coin shows microscopic striations from the press pressure and faint evidence of die polishing lines, marks made by mint workers attempting to smooth out previous damage. Ironically, those very polishing lines add further character and evidence of its authenticity and journey through the mint's chaotic environment. Even though the coin was struck in 2020, its features link it to multiple historical minting quirks from decades past, almost as if it was a time traveler in metal form, and that sense of mystery made it irresistible to collectors and historians alike. Some numismatists have speculated that this coin's survival was due to it being struck near the end of a die's life cycle, possibly during maintenance or a temporary adjustment period when monitoring was minimal. In those moments, a single blank can pass through under imperfect conditions, resulting in an error like this one. It's moments like that, fleeting seconds of mechanical imperfection, that produce treasures of eternal fascination. What makes this discovery even more thrilling is how it reignited interest in modern pennies, which many collectors had dismissed as too common or too new to hold value. The 2020 penny proved that even in the digital age of precision minting, true randomness and chaos still exist, and that the smallest object can still tell the biggest story. Since its discovery, thousands of collectors have begun checking their 2020 pennies using microscopes, precision scales and magnifiers, hunting for signs of doubling or composition anomalies. Those smaller errors have been found, such as minor die chips, plating bubbles or slightly off-center strikes. None have matched the perfection of imperfection seen in a $5 million specimen. Some collectors argue that the coin's value will only grow over time because it represents an era of transition, not just in minting but in society itself. A coin from a year that changed the world, forever bearing its own scars and mistakes like silent witnesses of that time. The coin has since been sealed in a tamper-proof slab displaying its certification details, weight and grade, preserving it for future generations. Its story. Next, 2003 D1 cent coin, everyone to another exciting and mind-blowing journey into the world of rare coins and unbelievable value discoveries, where a small, ordinary-looking penny turns out to be worth more than a luxury mansion. And today we are diving deep into the incredible story of the 2003 D1 cent coin that has stunned the collecting world by being valued at an astonishing $4 million due to its extraordinary minting errors and the mysterious circumstances behind its creation. So sit tight and let's explore how something as tiny as a penny could hold such mind-bending value, how collectors, experts, and even treasure hunters are constantly searching for this elusive coin that hides in plain sight, waiting for a lucky finder to realize its unimaginable worth, and how the 2003 D penny became one of the most talked about modern rarities in American numismatic history. Because what makes this coin so special is not just the date or the Denver mint mark, but the peculiar combination of flaws, minting defects, and subtle mistakes that happened during a year when the U.S. Mint was switching processes, updating dies, and battling wear and tear issues that led to some of the most remarkable error varieties ever seen on modern cents. And when we talk about a 2003 D penny being worth millions, we aren't talking about an urban legend or a simple misprint. We are talking about a genuine example of how minting imperfections can turn an everyday coin into a millionaire's treasure. Now, to understand what makes this coin so valuable, we need to dive into the incredible details of its error types, because this isn't just one single kind of mistake but a combination that numismatists describe as a compound error sequence, something extremely rare that occurs when multiple mechanical failures coincide in the same striking process, and in the case of the 2003 D1 cent. Reports suggest examples with double die obverse, broad strike features, die cracks extending across Lincoln's face, off-center alignment, and even partial missing layers of copper plating that reveal the zinc core beneath, each of which alone could be worth hundreds or thousands of dollars, but when combined, they create a perfect storm of rarity that skyrockets the coin's value into the millions. And what's even more fascinating is that 2003 was a year of transition for the US Mint, where equipment was upgraded but calibration issues persisted, so certain dies were improperly seeded. Some planchets were improperly cut, and temperature inconsistencies during the plating process caused bonding errors that resulted in peeling or flaking copper, meaning that a small fraction of coins released that year exhibited noticeable discoloration, surface distortions, or double details that collectors immediately began noticing years later. However, most of those coins went unnoticed because they looked ordinary to the casual spender, tossed into jars and drawers, and only after years of circulation did people start spotting the odd features under magnification that revealed the true anomalies, and when one pristine example surfaced at auction with multiple confirmed errors, experts were shocked to find that the coin had preserved nearly perfect luster, strong strike lines, and extremely crisp doubling visible in the inscriptions like "Liberty" and "In God We Trust," something that numismatic laboratories verified using microscopic analysis to confirm genuine mechanical doubling rather than post-strike damage, thus confirming its authenticity as one of the most remarkable error coins of the modern Lincoln cent era. And that's when the valuation began soaring, first estimated at tens of thousands, then hundreds of thousands, until competing collectors pushed the price above $4 million, driven not just by rarity but by demand and historical significance. Because the 2003 D penny tells a story of modern mint technology, human oversight, and the unpredictable beauty of imperfection. And what's even more mesmerizing is how such coins connect to the psychology of collecting. People are drawn to the idea that hidden treasure can exist in the most mundane object, like a coin resting in your change pocket that could buy you a mansion, and that dream fuels the excitement and mystery surrounding the 2003 D cent, leading thousands of enthusiasts to inspect every penny from that year, hoping to find even a hint of the same features that made the $1 million version famous. And as we analyze the specific features that contribute to its value, we must highlight the double die obverse, where Lincoln's facial details appear slightly shadowed or duplicated, especially around the nose and mouth area, and the doubling in the date, 2003, that gives it a ghost-like second impression, which is not something caused by wear but by die misalignment during the hubbing process, when the design is impressed onto the die multiple times at slightly different angles. Then there's the broad strike condition, where the coin lacks a defined rim because it was struck outside of its retaining collar, causing the metal to spread wider than normal and slightly distort the design edges, which makes it larger than typical cents and immediately recognizable by specialists. But the real kicker comes from the reported lamination error, where portions of the copper plating separate from the zinc core, leaving thin flaky sections or bubbles that distort the surface, a symptom of imperfect adhesion during production that in this case adds another level of uniqueness. And when such a coin remains uncirculated, the contrast between copper and exposed zinc creates a distinctive texture pattern that is visually stunning and scientifically verifiable, while die cracks, those thin raised lines caused by stressed or fractured dies, add yet another authentic feature showing that the coin was produced during heavy die use. And when you put all of that together, the 2003 D penny becomes not just a mint product but a snapshot of technological imperfection preserved forever in metal. And because so few exist with the same cluster of anomalies, each one found can potentially command astronomical sums. But of course the $1 million coin stands apart because it was discovered in mint state condition, untouched by circulation, meaning no scratches, bag marks, or toning that could reduce its grade, and that's why collectors are still obsessively searching sealed rolls, uncirculated mint sets, and estate hoards to uncover similar specimens, hoping to replicate the same fortune, and what's really fascinating is how the story of the 2003 cent reshaped modern coin hunting culture, inspiring everyday people to start paying attention to their pocket change, magnifying each coin, and sharing discoveries on online forums, Facebook groups, and numismatic communities where discussions about close AMs, wide AMs, double dies, and off-center strikes have exploded in popularity, and this explosion of interest has brought renewed energy into a hobby once dominated by specialists, now empowering average folks to dream big, all because of a single copper-plated zinc coin from 2003 that broke expectations. And let's not forget the psychological aspect of value perception, because something as common as a penny becoming worth $4 million challenges our assumptions about money itself. It's a lesson about rarity, luck, and awareness, a reminder that great value often hides in plain sight, and that even a modern coin, made in massive quantities, can contain mistakes so precise and unusual that they turn it into a numismatic masterpiece. And what experts emphasize is that such errors are not random chaos but the result of minute mechanical conditions that align perfectly to create a one-of-a-kind result, like a fingerprint of the minting process frozen in time, and because of that uniqueness, collectors place enormous premiums on authenticity, documentation, and visual clarity, meaning coins with detailed photographic provenance and confirmed error patterns fetch exponentially higher bids, and the 2003 Pennies fame continues to grow because even now, no other example has matched its combination of features in identical form, making it effectively unique, and that uniqueness, paired with its mint state preservation, gives it legendary status, now resting among the ranks of the world's most expensive pennies ever sold, alongside classics like the 1943 copper cent and the 1955 double die, and yet its story feels more relatable because it's so recent, part of our generation's minting era, something that could still be out there waiting to be discovered in circulation, which fuels the imagination and hope of every viewer watching this right now. Because who wouldn't want to stumble upon a coin that could change their life forever? So next time you find a 2003 penny, take a moment to examine the details. The spacing in the lettering, the edges, the luster, the feel, because one tiny variation might separate a 1-cent piece from a multi-million-dollar treasure, and this, my friends, is what makes coin collecting such an extraordinary and endlessly fascinating pursuit, where patience, curiosity, and knowledge can literally turn pocket change into a life-changing discovery, proving once again that value is often hidden where we least expect it, and that the humble penny, overlooked by most, still has the power to captivate the imagination of the world. Last 1988 1-cent coin, everyone to the channel where we dive deep into the fascinating and mysterious world of rare coins that are hiding in plain sight, coins that you might have in your pocket right now without realizing that one of them could make you a millionaire overnight, and today's incredible story revolves around one such extraordinary piece of American history, the 1988 1-cent coin. A small copper-plated zinc penny that, because of its rare and fascinating errors, has shocked the entire numismatic world by being valued at up to $3 million, a figure that has left collectors and experts speechless, and this unbelievable value all comes down to a mix of minting mistakes, mechanical flaws, die varieties, and production anomalies that turned an ordinary-looking coin into one of the most desirable treasures in modern American coinage. So let's journey through the story of how this little 1988 penny went from being a piece of loose change to a multi-million-dollar legend, because its story isn't just about metal and machinery, it's about luck, timing, rarity, and the incredible intersection between human error and technological precision at the U.S. Mint. And when we talk about this coin being worth $3 million, it's not some baseless rumor or exaggerated myth. It's rooted in real numismatic phenomena and confirmed examples of extraordinary minting accidents, like the famous 1988 penny with the reverse of 1989, a transition error so rare and precise that only a handful have ever been confirmed, and those few pieces have become holy grails for coin collectors, sparking bidding wars and headlines across the world, because to understand what makes this coin so valuable, you need to know the intricate process of how a coin is made, how dies are created and replaced, and how a simple oversight in that process can create something so rare that it transcends its original purpose as currency and becomes a priceless artifact of minting history. And in 1988, the U.S. Mint was in a transitional phase, moving from the design style of the 1980s Lincoln cents to the updated design of 1989, and during that changeover, something went wrong in the die preparation process at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints, resulting in a small number of 1988 cents being struck with the reverse design intended for 1989. And that's where the magic begins, because the difference between the two reverses is so subtle that most people wouldn't notice it even if they were staring right at it, yet for trained collectors, that tiny difference means everything. It's the difference between a common penny and a multimillion-dollar treasure, and this type of coin is known as a mule error, where mismatched dies from two different years or designs are accidentally paired together, and that makes it one of the rarest and most valuable kinds of minting mistakes ever documented. Now imagine the odds of such an error happening in 1988, when millions of pennies were being struck every single day, yet somehow, only a few dies with the wrong reverse design made it into production, were used briefly before being caught or replaced, and the coins struck during that short window made their way into circulation, hiding among billions of ordinary cents, meaning that right now, one could still be sitting in someone's coin jar or rolling around in an old drawer somewhere, just waiting to be found, and that possibility, of life-changing value, sitting in everyday change, is what fuels the excitement of collectors across the world, and the main identifying feature of the 1988 with 1989 reverse is found in the designer's initials, FG, located to the right of the Lincoln Memorial, because in the 1988 design, the letters have a distinct, sharp, and separate look, while in the 1989 reverse, the initials are more delicate and have a connected shape, and spotting that tiny design change is the key to identifying one of the most valuable pennies ever made, and this minute difference is what transforms an ordinary cent into a coin that can command millions, because the moment experts verified the mismatched die usage, they knew they had found something that shouldn't exist, and in the world of coin collecting, anything that shouldn't exist instantly becomes priceless. And what makes this 1988 penny even more incredible is that it's not just a single kind of error, because some of the known examples also show signs of additional mechanical doubling, die deterioration, or light off-center strikes, all of which add extra layers of uniqueness to an already legendary coin, and since every specimen discovered so far is slightly different, each one tells its own story of how chaotic and unpredictable the minting process can be, and when one of these coins surfaced at auction, authenticated by the professional coin grading service and confirmed as an MS-67 red example with the reverse of 1989, it shattered expectations by selling for hundreds of thousands, and private collectors have since valued top-condition examples at over $3 million, not just because of scarcity but because of the historical and technical importance of the discovery, and what's fascinating is that the average person could easily overlook this coin, because on the surface it looks identical to any other 1988 penny, made of copper-plated zinc, weighing 2.5 grams, and bearing the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln. Designed by Victor David Brenner, yet beneath that ordinary exterior lies a story of human error, timing, and chance so precise that it almost feels like fate, and what's truly mind-bending is that mint employees likely didn't even realize the mix-up at first, since both dies look nearly identical to the naked eye, and that's what makes this coin such a legend. It slipped through unnoticed, was released into circulation, and quietly became one of the rarest coins in modern history, and if that weren't enough, other 1988 pennies from the same year have exhibited their own fascinating range of minting errors, such as double die obverse varieties, off-center strikes, broad strikes, and even die cracks running across Lincoln's face or shoulder, and though those don't reach million-dollar levels individually, their existence paints a picture of how the mint's equipment in the late 1980s was operating under heavy stress, creating multiple varieties and anomalies that now drive collectors wild, and for the passionate coin hunter, this means that every 1988 penny deserves a close look under magnification, because the tiniest detail could turn an everyday find into a fortune, and it's that combination of technical precision and human fallibility that gives coin collecting its magic, the thrill of the hunt and the mystery of discovery that keeps people searching through rolls and jars year after year, because the next great find could be yours. And when we think about why such a coin commands $3 million, we realize it's not just about rarity, it's about the story, the excitement, the connection between the ordinary and the extraordinary, and how something so small can hold so much meaning, because coins like the 1988 reverse of 1989 penny remind us that perfection isn't always valuable, but mistakes, when rare enough, can become treasures beyond imagination. And beyond this specific mule error, there are rumors of other extremely rare 1988 varieties still waiting to be discovered, such as possible transitional planchet errors, where coins might have been struck on leftover copper planchets from earlier years, or struck on experimental blanks intended for testing, and although those haven't been fully confirmed, their mere possibility keeps the numismatic community buzzing with excitement. Because the 1980s were a period of experimentation and technological upgrades at the US Mint, and whenever such transitions occur, strange things tend to slip through, and that's exactly what makes coins from this era so fascinating to study. And even though billions of 1988 pennies were made, it only takes one small variation, one mismatched die, or one fluke moment in the minting process to create something that changes history, and as time passes, the rarity of these coins only increases, because every day more of them are lost, damaged, or destroyed, making the surviving examples all the more valuable, and for collectors who understand the subtle differences between dies, letter spacing, mint marks, and other microscopic features, each discovery feels like unlocking a secret of history, a direct connection to the machinery and craftsmanship of another era, and that's what gives coins like the 1988 penny such timeless allure, because they aren't just pieces of money, they're artifacts of error, beauty, and luck, frozen in metal and preserved for generations. And the fascinating part is that anyone, anywhere, could stumble upon one. By chance, maybe in a roll of cents from the bank, or in a box of old coins inherited from a relative, and that possibility, that life-changing discovery could be hiding right in your hand, is what makes stories like this so captivating. So next time you find a 1988 penny, don't just glance at it and toss it aside, look closely at the reverse, study the FG initials, check the alignment, inspect the strike, because you could be holding a coin that's worth more than a luxury car, more than a house, maybe even more than a lifetime of work, and that's the beauty of it. Something designed to be worth 1 cent, through a series of incredible accidents, becomes a priceless treasure that tells a story of history.